like to call the meeting to order. You'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No? Are there any corrections to the minutes of the regular meeting from February 17th, 2015? Hearing none, those in favor of approving the minutes of the regular meeting from February 17th, 2015 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? And those minutes stand as approved. We'll move on to reports. I have a couple of things I wanted to bring to your attention. The first is that you'll notice in the back of your board packet is some summary and highlights of current litigation that we have going on with our attorneys. That's for your review. Secondly is board review for 2015 begins March 9th. And you'll find these minutes posted, or these times and dates posted outside. March 9th, 10 a.m. to noon, and then again 1:30 to 5:30 p.m. Tuesday, March 10th, is 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Wednesday, March 11th, 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. No appointments are given. We conduct those board of review meetings first come, first serve. And the purpose of board of review is an appeal process. You received a notice of your assessment on your house. And if you want to appeal that, that's when you come to the board of review. It's an independent, autonomous review board that takes into consideration your reasoning and your evidence to justify your cause, and then they make a determination. So again, that's the board of review for appeal on your assessment of your home next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and it's first come, first serve. And if you have any questions as to when those times are, you can go online at our website, flinttownship.org, or you can call here at the office, and the secretary can give you the times. Our number here is 732-1350. That's all I have, and Madam Clerk is not here this evening, as you can see. So we'll move on to the treasurer's report.
No, just announcement today that it was the last day of taxes, thank goodness, and just motion to pay the bills.
Is there a second to the motion to pay the bills?
Second.
Is there any questions? Hearing no further discussion, Madam Secretary of the Board, roll call please on the motion to pay the bills.
Ms. Parker?
Yes.
Ms. Benelli?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Menudis?
Yes.
Ms. Vert?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Are there any trustee reports this evening?
I have one question. Oh,
I think
go ahead, I'll pass.
Trustee Parker's hand was up first.
We did receive the, we were awarded the scrap tire cleanup grant for this year.
Wonderful.
And once I receive the contract from the state, then I'll be able to announce the date.
Great.
Can't hear back here.
There we are. We need to see if we can get the word out. Last year it was successful, but there's many people who weren't aware of it. It's hard to communicate. So maybe we could, was it posted in the newspaper last year?
It was in the newspaper, M Live, and the Flint Township View, and on our website.
I wonder if the month before we do it, if we could put it in the school newsletter. There's a lot of kids, parents of the kids. That would be a great way to reach them too. Thank you, Mrs. Parker.
And we did, we had some flyers at the senior center also.
Great. Trustee Menudis?
As you mentioned in the back packet, why is Mrs. Moore suing the Township of Flint? We have nothing to do with the senior building, do we?
No, we own the building, and
I know.
the senior center is an autonomous 501c3, and they lease the building from us.
Yeah.
We maintain the building, but as a 501c3, the school board has a representative on their governing board, and we do also. We appointed Trustee
Yes.
Barb Vert. So they decided that they would name her in that lawsuit, even though she was not a part of that vote. She is a part of that board, and they named us. So that's why you see that.
I'm not on that board.
No, you're not on that board, but I will tell you this, if you haven't had a chance to read this, you'll see that we're asking to be dismissed from that lawsuit because we didn't have any oversight over the senior center because they're their own 501c3 nonprofit agency.
Okay, thank you.
Any other trustee reports or questions? Trustee Vert?
Yep. I wanted to let everybody know that the senior center is going to be having an open house on Monday, March 23rd from 4 to 6. And there's going to be giveaways for new members and a contest who brings the most new members in.
Can you repeat that date?
March 23rd, 4 to 6. And there'll be refreshments and some demonstrations, music. So I hope everybody comes out, supports the center.
Okay. Speaking of open houses and ribbon cuttings, Panera Bread will be having their grand opening Saturday, noon until 1. What's the date this Saturday? 6 days and 2 is the 8th? Is that the 8th? Does anyone have a calendar?
Saturday's the 4th.
Saturday is March 7th. Noon to 1, Panera will be having their grand opening. So want to let the trustees know that and hope to see you there. There being no further trustee reports, we'll move on to general reports. Lieutenant Battenkoff, do you have a report for us?
The only thing I have is a short announcement that the police department initiated a program. We have a monitor in the lobby of our police station now that runs a continuous loop of information about the police department, the community. We have still photos from surveillance cameras of wanted individuals that we haven't identified. That just started today, but it's up, it's operational. It runs off of a PowerPoint on a loop, so it's going, whenever somebody's in the lobby, that information's running for them.
Thank you. Chief Ringwalski, a report for us?
We had one structure fire since we last met. This also was a result of a space heater. Reminder again to people trying to thaw out pipes, keep an eye on those space heaters, and keep open flame space heaters 3 feet from combustibles. Also, our inspectors are finalizing the last of the restaurant inspections in the township and beginning the motel inspections. That's all.
Thank you. Alrighty, we're through reports. We'll move on to public comment. If you would like to address this board, I'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll be given 3 minutes to address the board.
Kevin Stiff, let's see which address I want to use. G4020 Corona Road. I was hoping that the chief was going to be here tonight. When you were doing your purchases for the police interceptor Tahoes, I think he stated that they didn't find anybody in Genesee County that would bid on those vehicles. Through just asking, Hank Graff just delivered 6 Tahoes to Sinclair County Sheriff's Department. The same ones. I'm just saying they are delivering. I mean, people around here are delivering them. So
To clarify, I think he meant Flint Township, and yet we approached the dealers in the township and talked to them about the state bid process. Randy Weiss declined and Patsy Lou did put a bid on it.
yeah, well, Hank Graff said that they would have if they would have seen it. So anyway, so I thought maybe the chief would be here tonight. And then I got that envelope from the township that our taxes or our values went up. My taxes went up $16,000, so that means my building's now worth, overnight, went up $32,000. So my question is that you will be getting more money in tax revenues on our property taxes. So what do we do with that money? Where's that money go? Obviously, you're going to get more money from our taxes now. And there's a lot of commercial buildings here in town. My My building is now worth $32,000 more overnight. I have to pay more taxes. Where's that money coming from? Might not seem like a lot of money, but where's that money at?
General fund.
No,
No, I'm asking where's that money coming from me, and where's it going to you?
pretty much goes in the general fund, or it goes to the different millages that are charged.
You just got $3 million a year on that police and fire millage. Now you were saying because you didn't have enough money. Where is that tax now going to go? What are you going to use that money for? Because obviously you got money in your coffers again. Where's that money go? What are you going to use that for?
If you want to come in, we can have a meeting with the controller, but I don't know what answer you're
You know,
looking for.
and I'm
as
going to
a
be
city.
here on March 9th or March whatever it is, and I'm going to ask them to drop my value, and you know what they're going to do? Any one of you, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you, you know what they're going to do?
I don't know what they do. I don't sit on that board.
George, you own enough property in this township to know dang well what they're going to do.
Well-
The last thing, I got one last thing.
Mr. Stiff,
This
I
is
don't
not-
have a lot of.
I'm not arguing with you. The last thing, I wasn't here for the last meeting. The last one, I watched the meeting. I seen how they did the board. I only have one complaint. Again, and I'm going to do it every meeting. Are you guys going to do Graham Road this year? You're going to pave Graham Road?
I'm going to get an estimate for it. It's a matter of how this board votes. So I'm going to invite you to come in and I can get these questions answered, but we can't go through every single person sitting in the audience and do a question and answer right now. We're here during the day. I can answer those questions during the day, but I can't do it for everybody here right now, so I shouldn't be doing it for you.
Well, no, but I hope everybody here in the audience, I hope every one of you get up and you ask the same questions. Every one of you. Get up tonight and ask them what they're going to do with our money.
Thank you, Mr. Stiff. Your
Thank
time's up.
you. And I hope that they report it in the newspapers.
They must think I own every piece of property in Flint Township.
My name is Gerald Roberts, 4487 Lindywood Drive. I have three things that I want to comment on. You need to look at Sunday's Journal, and I think it's A17 with regard to the new proposal on the 7% tax. And if that goes through, they're going to increase the sales tax to 7%. They're going to increase the gasoline fuel tax and adjust it for inflation. That means that there's an unlimited amount, that portion of it can be increased. Again, they're going to increase the registration fees and the dedicated revenue for roads and other transportation. But this is going to go into the general fund. There's no guarantees on how much money is going to go to roads and funds, and that's the main proposal that they're coming in here trying to go from. So you need to look at this to make your decision. I don't think I can trust them. They wouldn't vote on it and put themselves on the pan, and now they're throwing it to the taxpayers. Okay? I got two things through the mail. Like Mr. I think Swift, I got an increase in my property valuation of, for my house, $5,200. About 2 weeks ago, that means an increase in my taxes over and above the 3.85% for police and fire millage. Probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, Karen said, "Hey, you got a big increase," when I commented on 2.5% increase across the board for everybody else. And that figured out to $15, Karen, that my big increase on my Social Security. So I'm sure that the government's going to take that without even a heartbeat. And I think that was based on inflation. And I got another thing through the mail here. I don't know if anybody got this or not. And this right here, and I don't know if I can believe this or not, but I thought that if the board here got a raise, it was supposed to go through an advisory board. But according to this little piece of paper right here, the three main people, Ms. Miller, Ms. Courts, and Ms. Spinelli, all got a $1,400 raise that I don't think went through an advisory board. And Trustee Menudas, Castle, Parker, and Vert got a $4,100 raise. If that's true, you people ought to be ashamed of yourself if you're accepting that. You really ought to be ashamed of yourself. I always thought that public officials were in here for the people. And right now, we as people and we as citizens are feeling that we're getting the shaft. We really do. We're feeling that we're getting hit by the county drain commissioner in upping our rates. We're getting hit by the state. We're getting hit by licensing fees. We're getting hit by, when we go to get our insurance policy, the uninsured motorists, $100 and $39 or $49 on every insurance policy. We're having to pay for people over here that are getting brand new houses, brand new cars. And when somebody under the Freedom of Information Act wants to question what that amount is going for, they stymie it. But
you,
yet
Mr.
those people
Roberts.
are from
Your
the
time is
insurance
up, and I need to
companies.
draw it to a close, please.
Pardon?
Your time is up. You need to draw it to a close.
Oh, okay. Is there anybody here who'd like to give me their time?
No, we're not doing that tonight. Thank you very much.
How come you did it before? You did it before, Karen.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
I guess it's a point, in other words, if you don't want to hear what the person has to say, you cut them off. Isn't that right?
Well, you
Out in
haven't stopped,
Flushing-
so I guess that's not true.
Out in
Thank you,
Flushing,
Mr.
you get
Roberts.
5 minutes. I've been pushing that for the last 5 years. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the board?
Good evening, Harold Pauly, 1051 Cabot Drive. A lot of the topics that I was going to cover tonight has already been talked about, but I'll just throw in my 2 cents, I guess. I really shouldn't have anything to say. But this board's action or inaction should be a red flag to Flint Township residents, especially to the taxpayers and the businesses. First, let's dissect this board from the workday responsibilities, which has their own issues. Let's just talk about board issues. There's an old biblical saying, "Forgive them for they know not what they are doing." But in contrast, I think that they do know what they're doing, but what they're doing is not all good. Flint Township residents have a quandary. They've invested a financial pothole that is too big and continues to grow, and which continues to grow. And this board has no plan, no vision, no format to fix it. I'd gone through and made up a list of items that this board could consider to improve the township and do it more efficiently and do it cheaply, and we wouldn't have to worry about more millages. But without a format to include the residents of this township and to look at new ideas and new initiatives, it's not even worthwhile talking about, because the ones I've talked about before, not one person from this board has ever asked me, what did you really mean? What could we do to accomplish something different than what we're doing? In essence, we can't afford this board. We can't even afford the police department. You look at the city of Flint, that people can't afford their water bills. Water bills is a necessity, or water is a necessity. We're heading in the same direction. We have people out here that can't afford to pay their water bills, and it's going to get worse. Who do we rely on? We rely on charity. We don't rely on good financial control by this board or the police department to try to do things more efficiently and help these people out. Observing Flint Township government recently has been like watching smoke and mirrors on steroids. Who makes policy? The board, the police department, unions, or special interest? For instance, apparently we don't have a crime problem because it's not talked about by the board, it's not talked about by the police department. So I guess we don't have a crime problem. You can't even get answers to it. Who is responsible for public safety issues? You can't even get an answer as to who's really responsible for how did this millage happen? What went into it? Why was it proposed the way it was and marketed the way it was? I think this board is out of touch
Thank you, Mr. Polly. Your time is up.
with the residents. And I'll continue this the next time. One other comment. I think it was said
Your time is
before.
up. Thank you.
Yes. But just to, I was told I could continue
Mr.
on.
Polly,
like-
would you please stop talking? Your time is up. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
The taxpayers of this township will know, they're going to think their tax bills are in steroids when they get their tax bills.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Ken Grover, 1326 South Graham Road. Enough about the bad taxes. Let's say something good about the taxes. A school district, Carbon Ainsworth School District, recently refinanced a large bond, $9,650,000 bond. It put their interest rate down to 1.78%. That saves the school board almost $1 million. Now, I just want to ask the board, send the school board a thank you note. It would just be a nice gesture. And in that respect, I checked with Beth today if the township had any outstanding bonds. Yes, we do, only it's small. And that has also been refinanced. I'm happy to see that somebody is watching over the money. Regardless of what other people say, I got this right out of the paper. And not only that, it was the third time the school board reduced this bond rating. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grover. I'll mention that the township board refinanced the police department bond. We reduced the number of years that we would be paying by, was it 7 or 9 years? We saved the township $500,000 by reducing the interest rate and reducing the number of years we had to pay it back. We could do that for the water main bond on Fenton Road. We have the money to do that, but the city of Burton does not, so we are watching our finances.
I didn't know that you were watching them. I guess a lack of trust for no reason, but I'm happy to hear that you are.
Thank you, Mr. Grover. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board?
Dave Huffman, 2483 Warner Road, and I'd just like to make a couple of comments about the thing that Trustee Castle brought up at the last board meeting. It appears that our township liability insurance for litigation, lawsuits against the township, I was up about 36%. Was that correct, Mr. Castle? Was that the figure, 36%?
Yes, that's not just a liability policy, that's a liability and casualty policy also for all of our assets.
It covers everything. Okay. Well, I guess my concern, especially after I got my assessment that went up $3,500 too, and I guess my property went up miraculously here in the last year by $7,000, but I guess we have a bunch of magicians out here in the township. But that's another matter. Still heading to the lawsuits here. My concern is, we've had personnel firings up to this township, I think, probably in the last 2 or 3 years. One of it was a gentleman by the name of Mr. Visser that was fired from his role up here in the township and proceeded to sue the township and collected $150,000. Now, I guess, $150,000 here, $150,000 there, no big deal, but that's pretty substantial. Then it was brought up at the meeting tonight that our ex-senior citizen director is suing the township right now too. And from what I understand, we're not involved in that, and we've made it known that we should not be involved in that, and they're going to drop that. That's what I understand. What I heard tonight, is that correct?
There was a request to drop it. The judge has to make a ruling.
So just because you decide that you want to drop it is not, the judge would have to agree with that. Is that correct?
It's not up for discussion, actually.
That's a fact. It's a lawsuit.
Okay, so now we're on lawsuits, and these are sort of menial lawsuits. Then another one that comes to my mind, our township treasurer, when she ran for public office 2 years ago and was fired by her supervisor, sued the township in federal court. She lost the case, and then, to show her disdain about that decision, she appealed that case, and she cost the township hundreds of thousands of dollars more in litigation. Now, that kind of stuff right there, you can sit and wonder why all these bills have gone up. That is the most damning thing that I've ever come across me, a public official that would sit on this board and tell us how to run our day-to-day business, did that to the citizens and did that to the taxpayers of Flint Township.
Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? No? I guess we'll draw that public comment to a close and we'll move on to action items. Action item A, Lieutenant Battenkoff.
Action item A is actually asking the authorization to hire 2 budgeted police officer positions. The third position we're not asking for at this time. His background investigation is not complete, but we are asking to hire Philip McBride and Lacey Lopez. Both of them are certified officers with a considerable amount of experience with other departments. Officer McBride worked for 2 years for the city of Flint before he was laid off. He then went to work for Milford Police Department for a little over 6 years. He was our top scoring candidate in our last round of testing. His background investigation is complete. He appears to be a very, very good candidate. The chief has requested, because we now have the ability to bring in lateral officers, that he be brought in starting at the 5-year level during his field training program and then moving to the 6-year level upon completion. It will still be a considerable pay cut from what he's making at Milford, but it's the best we can do. And he is a very qualified candidate. He also has a bachelor's degree from Michigan State University. Second candidate is Lacey Lopez. She currently works for the Clayton Township Police Department, where she's worked for about the past 6 years. She also has a bachelor's degree from Ferris State. She was our 3rd highest scoring, I believe, on the last test. Her background, again, also is complete. A very qualified candidate, very well thought of. We're asking to bring her in at the, let me check the chief's notes.
Second year.
3-year, I'm sorry, it's the 3-year would be her starting pay, and then 4-year for the second step. I know I spoke earlier, I said second and third.
Oh, you
but
told
it
us
is-
second and third, but it's
Yeah,
third and fourth?
it's 3rd and 4th. And that is commensurate with what she's making now at Clayton Township, so.
And that's in accordance with the language of the POAM contract?
Yes, the POAM contract allows the employer, being the township board, to bring in at a lateral entry anywhere on the pay scale. Both of these candidates said that they applied because of the ability to come in as a lateral entry because of their employment situation is now. They both want to work here, but needed the lateral entry to make it work, and we think they're very good additions to the department.
So a motion would be in order to hire these 2 new police department officer candidates, and the motion should include, according to our controller, that Philip McBride will be brought in at the 5th year level, and after his field training, he will be at 6-year level. And Lacey Lopez starts at the 3rd year level, and after her field training would go to the 4th year level. So a motion would be in order to move forward.
I so move.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll support it.
Are there any other questions for Lieutenant Battenkoff?
I have one, but it hasn't got to do with this. Did you all ask for money to buy those cameras for the police officers? Like some of the communities around are having their officers with cameras, you know?
We have 5 body cameras right now that we have had for a number of years. And we met with representatives from our in-car camera system about finding an integrated system that works together. They have a preliminary system. It's not fully integrated yet, but we have been in meetings with them and got some costs. Our plan is at some point, once we find the right system, to go to body cameras for all uniformed officers.
Okay. One other question has to do with Mr. McBride, the candidate. He got laid off from the city of Flint. Is there any chance of him in 6 months or a year to go back?
He's been working at Milford for over 6 years. He could have gone back to the city of Flint. He stayed at Milford Police Department.
Oh, okay.
And he's interested in coming here.
Okay.
Do you happen to know how long he worked for the city of Flint?
Approximately 2 years.
Okay, that's why he's getting 6 years. He's getting, coming at a base pay of a 5-year police officer when the Ms. Lopez is only coming in at 3 years.
Yes. Yeah, and their Milford pays considerably better than we do. He's, like I said, he's taking a pay cut coming here. And Ms. Lopez, we've tried to maintain what she's making at Clayton Township. So she's truly coming in as a lateral.
Yeah, okay.
Any further questions for Lieutenant Batinkoff? No further discussion? Mrs. Funk, would you please take roll call on hiring Philip McBride at a 5th-year level, and after field training, he would be at the 6-year level, and Lacey Lopez coming in at a 3rd-year level pay, and after field training, a 4th-year level.
Benelli?
Yes.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Castle?
Yes.
Mr. Menudas?
You said 6-year pay for
5th year.
McBride, or 5th year?
5. He comes in at 5th year.
Yes.
Mrs. Burt?
Yes.
Mrs. Parker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Action item B is to consider purchasing a replacement police vehicle utilizing insurance reimbursement monies and budgeted funds. So, did you have anything to add to that, Lieutenant Batinkoff?
The proposed purchase is of a 2016 Chevrolet Impala under state bid. It's a fleet vehicle that is listed at $18,488.50. $9,100 of that would be covered from insurance from the total vehicle. The remainder out of our budgeted funds. We did explore a number of options, including other fleet vehicles which were more expensive. We also looked at used vehicles, and the used vehicle option for approximately $15,000, we would get a similar vehicle with 30,000 miles on it. It was the recommendation of Lieutenant Baldwin, who did the research for the vehicle, that we make the purchase under the fleet vehicle. He said that when he talked to other vendors and dealers, they said that was a very price competitive point, and it was difficult for them to do any better than that, even on a used vehicle. So it is a brand new vehicle with a 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty and a 100,000 mile powertrain warranty for about $3,000 more than what we would spend on a used vehicle that was similar.
So, the last time we purchased vehicles for patrol, which are very specific in their equipment, we were told by Chief Sippert that you went through state bid. And I don't understand that whole process, but that if you qualify or if you meet the requirements, any dealership can be a part of that state bid process, right?
Right, the state solicit bids, and then we'll accept any qualifying bid, and they award it to the lowest qualified bidder.
And somehow at that point, the dealerships that were in this township weren't a part of that, and so we held off and allowed them to put their bid in through the state bid process. And I don't know if, because it was just recent, I don't know if the township dealerships have had the same opportunity. Do you know if they put in a bid for this? Randy Weiss and Patsy Lou?
No, I don't.
You don't know if they'd have done that? So, you have a question, Trustee?
Okay, yes. Who drives this vehicle?
I would.
You would?
Yes.
Would you drive a 214 instead of a 216?
This is actually the 2014 body style, that's why it's so
No,
much
I'm
cheaper,
talking
but-
about the year, let's say 20,000 miles, maybe save $5,000. I'm just,
I would drive whatever vehicle was assigned to me, so.
okay. I like the idea of if Randy Weiss, who's a big taxpayer in this community, and Patsy Lou, and also we get some help from Applegate's, I'd like to see a bid from them to see if they can match it. If that's the case, because I brought it up on the 6 Tahoes that went to Grand Rapids, I'd like to table this till next meeting to get the bids back from these other people. Isn't that what you say,
Is
you're
there-
talking about? Okay.
Yeah, is there a second to postpone this?
I'll second.
So we'll have a vote on the postponing before we move forward on,
Can I just ask the Lieutenant, you don't know whether any local township dealers were invited to bid on these?
I know that Lieutenant Baldwin spoke with them regarding used cars and got information from them. I don't know that he did on this particular car. He expressed to me that that was a very difficult price to beat. That was a very, very low price. But I don't know if he'd let them bid, and I guess I would want some direction too. Are we bidding for the fleet vehicle, or would we bid for a different vehicle if we send it out to bid to the local?
We're talking about what's being requested,
Okay.
the
Yeah.
216
The
Chevy
specs, yeah.
Impala.
The fact that it's a fleet vehicle means that we ought to be able to get a better price on a fleet vehicle. Is that the idea of the fleet vehicles? Or they're all have the same kind of adjustments and additions and modifications that the police cars need?
General Motors runs a specific fleet line, and this is, although it's a 2016 model year, is actually the 2014 or maybe even 2013 body style. It's the older Impala body style. They do that just for the fleet vehicle. That's why the price point is so low on that particular vehicle. And apparently that's how they're making that a fleet vehicle. But I don't think there'd be any issue with bidding it out to the local dealers can. They typically don't match price because it's a volume thing where they make money on it. It's at a low price point. The dealer makes money through volume, not through a particular sale. But if Randy Weiss or Patsy Lou can sell it at this price, I would.
And they ought to be able to bid, they ought to be able to make a proposal soon, right? Time enough to get you
I would
the vehicle.
hopefully we'll be able
I
to bring it
suspect
back
by
to
next meeting, yeah.
the board next meeting.
So we should resolve the next, I have no objection to making a 2016 model.
Madam
Because
Supervisor, is there any reason why we have to bid on a fleet vehicle? I mean,
So we discussed this today. It's the use of the vehicles for administrative use and for investigative use. It's not for patrolling.
Correct.
So we can see what we can get to match. I mean, if everybody's bidding apples to apples, we see what we can get from them with these specs. We could also ask them, give us your best vehicle a used vehicle that we can drive. I mean, it doesn't have to chase anybody. Maybe we can save money. We got $9,000 from the insurance company because this vehicle, you were rear-ended, weren't you?
Yes.
So they redeemed it at $9,000. Maybe we can get a good car for $9,000 and not have to use any more money. Who knows? Anyway, at this point, there's a motion on the table to postpone and a second. All those in favor of postponing signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? It's unanimous, so we will wait on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So it brings us to the end of the meeting, and something that was said earlier, I just wanted to clarify, because some facts were mentioned, but the whole story hasn't been seen. Mr. Huffman brought up the fact that an employee sued us for wrongful termination, and actually, we eliminated the position of in-house technical information officer. That gentleman was being paid in total $85,000, and his contract apparently had termination. Well, he felt he had a lifetime contract. We eliminated the position and we hired an outside company. We outsourced it and we paid $17,000 a year, replacing someone making $85,000. I think that makes good business sense. When it comes to being defended by our insurance company, the township paid $5,000 deductible. It was the insurance company who chose to settle that. They didn't want to fight it in court. They didn't think it was worth it. The insurance company paid the $145,000. The township did not. We paid our deductible. And while that seems like a lot of money, I don't have $5,000 laying around. We've more than saved that in the years that he's been gone, and I think it was a good decision, and I think this board makes good decisions. We're not perfect, but we do try our best. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, can I just say this? I appreciate what the supervisor is saying, and she's certainly correct that on that particular employee, we save some money later on, but when somebody sues the township for anything and they get either a judgment or a settlement, it's not only the deductible that costs us money. When the insurance company has to pay out a lot of money to settle the case, then those payments are reflected in future year premiums. So it does behoove the township to try to avoid these types of lawsuits in the future.
I agree, but you can look at the trend of the last 25 years. It ebbs and it flows. We've had insurance rates that have gone down, and we've had insurance rates that go up. So it's a process. And in fact, at some point, the township received a check back from that insurance company for $315,000. So we didn't have to pay for insurance that year. Anyhow, it ebbs and flows.
I'm not arguing with you, Madam Super. All I'm pointing out is it's incorrect to say that it only costs us the deductible on a lawsuit. Losses on a lawsuit does cost us money. The $350,000 you're talking about was a bonanza that we got because of a workman's compensation adjustment. So,
and I don't disagree with you. When we
all
have
I'm saying,
insurance,
whatever it costs us, or whatever the situation is, we need to be, and I'm not saying we haven't, we need to be careful this year, next year, and every year, trying to avoid all types of lawsuits. I was going to ask the lieutenant here. We were given a list of the pending lawsuits against the township, and unfortunately, most of those are against the police department. Well, it's the police department will generate a lot of suits, because when someone gets arrested, the first thing they start doing is thinking about is a lawsuit against the police department for hitting him too hard on the wrist or something like that, and that's what happens. But I was going to ask, does the police department have any program or training in how to, the type of force to use and so on? So I guess that's the question. Does our police department train its officers to use only the amount of force that is necessary to apprehend somebody?
And yes, is the short answer. I think the legal standard is a reasonable amount of force, not the only amount necessary.
Reasonable amount of force.
But yeah, we have a very comprehensive policy on use of force. We train to that policy. We have a number of force options that our officers are certified in on an annual basis. OC spray, pressure point control tactics, and taser. And relatively few of our lawsuits involve actual use of force. There's a law-standing tenet in law enforcement, and I think across the board, that anybody can sue anybody for any reason. In all honesty, I could sue you for asking me that question. I may not prevail on it, but I could sue you for that.
Please don't. It would cost our insurance company too much money.
And that's what we deal with. And a lot is made of the lawsuits. Lots been made tonight of it. And insurance companies settle. That's what they do, and that's why people file lawsuits. Had those been litigated fully, I seriously doubt very many of them would have been successful. I know that most of ours are settled at a relatively low level because they're nuisance lawsuits, and they pay them because it's cheaper to pay them than to litigate it. And that's the reality of what we're faced with, and I think we deal with it in the police department, and the board deals with it on their end. And our lawyers do a good job of getting those dismissed that need to be dismissed immediately, and the ones they can't dismiss, they settle because it's cheaper.
Yeah, I sometimes think that you ought to fight some of these and win, which you probably would, so then the lawyers that file these may know that, finally get the idea that Flint Township isn't a pushover.
I think everybody but the insurance carrier agrees with that, so.
So this week I'm meeting with risk management from workers' comp, and we will be setting up an appointment with our liability and casualty insurance company. We'll meet with them for risk management, but I will forward an email that the Personnel Committee received from Chief Sippert on their efforts and what they do, their policy and their efforts at the police department to reduce risk both with workers' comp and with liability. So I'll get that to you tomorrow. And if there's no objection without any further business before us, we'll call this meeting adjourned.
I got no balls for losing. Shocking. Drives it road all the time. Just had a few drinks. Just can't be happening.
Are we clear?
Clear. We're just buzzed. Just buzzed? You didn't tell us that, sir. You're right. This isn't happening. He'll be fine. I feel good. Really? No, not really.
Buzz driving.
Clear.
Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal.
Shocking.
Maybe he's really focused.
Hey, Michael. Michael. Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Maybe he's just being a boy.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today. The sooner it's diagnosed, the better.